What probably slightly annoyed prehistoric humans? Going to your favorite fruit tree or berry bush and finding someone else has already picked it clean. Never yelp about your favorite gathering places. Fastest way to ruin them ever. Fleas and lice were a constant back then. But I can't imagine ever really getting used to them. I was going to say small, flying, biting insects. We call them midges here in Scotland. But infernal hellspawn would be a better name. When you wake up in the morning and you roll out of your pile of leaves and hay and your feet touch the freezing cold rock cave floor. Animals f***ing with their stuff. Edit. Thank you for my first ever silver. Close bracket. A week ago I read an article about how people who work from home because of COVID are terrorized by their pets while working. So this is not specific to prehistory. Accidentally chipping a bit too hard when you're finishing up a spearhead and ruining it. When you leave Grog to watch the fire and he falls asleep and lets it go out. And you have to start it all over again. Being called a Neanderthal fucker when we all know there is nothing wrong with that actually. Having to poop outside the cave when it was raining. They pooped in the caves. Usually away from habitation areas. Archaeologists get really excited to find coprolites. They can teach us a lot about diet and health. Biting the inside of their mouth while chewing. With that we're reminded. There are experiences that are just as annoying now as they were thousands of years ago. When the wind turns at the wrong moment during a hunt. Persistence hunting was a method of hunting used. They would go after the animal until it was too tired to continue running. All these young people growing their own food and raising animals. I heard that Boy stopped traveling altogether. Just living in one place. It's making man weak. It occurs to me how funny it is that we make up such simplistic names for prehistoric peoples when one of the first people that has a recorded name is Enheduanna. Double quote. The cording for your favorite bee shell necklace breaking. Someone mistaking your favorite pointed stick for the fire starter. Your kid running off with that really nice sharp rock and losing it in the river. A fucking cave bear coming up on the deer you just downed. All that work and that fucker's gonna take the fruit of the labor. The kid putting a bad berry in their mouth and getting sick after you told them not to eat those berries. The local village idiot who does inexplicable shit like trying to make all the round things flat just because he had a vision telling him to do it. You don't know how many jars you've lost to that fuckwit and now you've got some bird's eggs that'll go great with the moose jerky and that asshole is eyeing your find. Mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are the primary vector for malaria. A disease which by some estimates may have killed something like half of all humans who ever lived. So they're more than a slight nuisance. But without understanding why they were getting sick and dying. You're right in that prehistoric humans probably didn't realize how annoyed they really should have been by mosquitoes. Standing in mammoth shit. Mayo hunting with spear slowly creeping around at dusk dawn and take one wrong step squish splat right up between your toes and the wearer scores is 1 stroke 4 mile away haha. They didn't have air conditioning. So I bet their balls got stuck to their legs constantly. In the modern sense. No. But how to build shelter with good ventilation absolutely predates writing. So does chalk, aka baby powder. When you sneeze while making a negative handprint on a cave. When you come back home with a fawn you killed and your kid says Gert's daddy killed a moose yesterday. When your deer's skin is slightly too short to make a decent top. When you tried to make a swing needle out of bones and it broke. Again. When you told your father and husbands to kill a moose and they killed a mammoth while you don't have time to cut all of it in the day with a place to stock it. And they are proud of them. When your new neighbors went picking wild plants and they even took the young sprouts or when they start cut flint before sunrise. More than a slight annoyance. What the heck did the women do when they got a yeast infection? Those are horrific without prescription diflucan. You can't even walk if you have a bad one. They probably knew some herbal remedies. Or at least some general soothing plant paste. Otzi the Iceman who died in the Alps 5,000 years ago carried herbs that have a chemical effective against intestinal parasites. He had a case of worms that he was trying to treat. But he was killed by an arrow in the back first. So we'll never find out if it was going to work for him. Getting something stuck in their teeth. Slowly whitting down a twig into a pick with a stone flake. Only to have the tip of the pick break off. Now Grog have to make pick again and 2 things stuck in teeth. Probably trying to find out what they can and cannot eat. Oh, look at this little bush with little orange fruits. Bam fucking habaneros. Now you're convinced you're dying for like an hour. A lot of women go through shoplifting phases, and this is inherently intertwined with their subconscious and the fact that they used to gather berries, nuts, greens, etc. Edit. Oh come on now. I'm kidding. Those bloody beaker kids and their fancy bronze they keep going on about. They should try hunting and gathering for a change. That's real work. Lad. Diarrhea. Boom. I wouldn't say boom. Usually it's more of a squirt sound unless of course you're talking about explosive diarrhea. Asking your husband to fetch berries for once because you're pregnant and waking up the next day with twice the morning sickness because he didn't know the bad ones. I saw a study once that said women even now are better than men at distinguishing between different shades of red because of prehistoric women being the ones to gather the edible berries. Kids filling up the cave walls with their images when they could have just written out their stories. Bugs. Like flies. Gnats. Mosquitoes. No bug spray. No window screens. No deterrent. I'm thinking about my girlfriend whose legs are constantly covered in bites after like an hour outside with bug spray on. How about pain more generally? There were no NSAIDs, anesthetics, etc. We're so used to taking pills to address our aches and pains, e.g. headaches, bloating, but back then you basically just had to push through it. The stalk you use to brush your back in the shower won't stop turning to the camera and saying it's a living. Double quote. Toothache. Metal had not yet been invented, so there were no pliers to extract teeth. Neanderthal kids taking your favorite rock and not putting it back. When one of the big stone wheels on their car went flat. And have you ever tried blowing a stone tire back up when air compressors haven't been invented yet? My lips were blue for a month. Seriously. You go to show you're pleased to meet the other tribe from across the valley and no one has an erection to show they're friendly. Even though they are. Those vandals who painted all over their cave walls. Random noises waking them up at night. Like animal screams. It must have been terrifying being in the bottom of the food chain with all these wild animals and wild nature. I think a lot of things that we take for granted would be a huge deal for prehistoric humans. Even humans living 100 years ago. I recently broke my tibia. Now it was pretty painful blah 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 and I had to get surgery. But in the grand scheme of things, it's just an annoyance for 3 months. Now if that had have happened to a caveman, they probably would have never walked ever again. Figuring out how to turn coffee beans into coffee. Fag. First you roast them. Then you grind them into little pieces. Then you discover fire to boil water. Then you filter boiling water through the pieces. Then drink. Double quote. Stepping on a particularly sharp stick while hunting and your ouch grunt scares away the prey, so you let out an anger grunt and Uga thinks he heard the excited grunt and comes to congratulate you with a congratulation grunt. Then you beat Uga to death for his ignorance and eat him instead. Fun fact. Humans as we know ourselves probably didn't invent fire, axes, blades or many other of the first tools. When we talk prehistoric humans we can suppose they already had the basic instincts that we modern humans would have if left stranded far from civilization. So emo. Probably getting a tune stuck in your head even when you absolutely hate it. Fag's drum solo on a massive hollow stone you found wasn't all that pleasing to hear. But it was about as catchy as lice from a chimpanzee. Biting on bone or gravel when eating something. Since they had much stronger teeth and jaws, it would have been a minor issue. And due to, let's say, different hygiene standards, it would also have been quite common. Probably babies. When I have been holding my baby son, I've thought about how my ancestors raised babies and children and how they viewed the whole ordeal. I can't begin to imagine that moment of terror. I have to keep him alive. While looking around at all the shit that could kill him. If he's still with you, you're doing well. At least animals can't eat him. Chafing. Stepping on something sharp. And I'd like to think having cramps. When I had my first cramp, it was in the middle of my back when I was young and home alone, and I thought I was being possessed. So I wonder what they would think it is. Every time they had sex, a baby was on the way. That's not how women work, yak now. I'd like to think the howling of wolves at night. Think about it. You've got some friendly ones hanging around. They help with hunting. Some let you pet them. But they just keep the whole village up at night. And you've got to get up early for megafauna hunting in the morning. 100% it's having to rock a piss in the middle of the night when it's cold out and you're super warm. You'll sleep stupid but really have to pee, so you can't go back to bed. You sit there thinking, how bad would it really be if I just let it fly right now? Then you realize you've been seriously considering peeing in your bed for the past 15 minutes, and if you would have just got up you'd be back asleep by now. Not sure about slightly annoyed. But have you ever thought about the Homo erectus who had to coexist with tree-dwelling Australopithecines? Imagine a goddamn tree dude ran up to your camp and stole your baby. Ran back up the tree. And laughed at you while it ate. It was a freakish nightmare no other early humans exactly had to contend with. Outlining your hand on the cave wall only to wake up the next day and find someone else outlined their hand right over yours and there is like tons of empty wall space left. Repeating history's mistakes. And sort of remembering the last time they'd made the same mistake. But not having a mechanism to record and prevent the error from reoccurring. When you go to pull the spear out of an animal you just caught and the pointy stone bit comes off the end of the stick and is now inside the animal. Now you have to start digging in there to get it out so you can continue the hunt. When rain got inside of their cave and now they have to go out and get leaves to cover it up. Ants covering and eating the hog liver they accidentally left out overnight. Saber-toothed tigers. An eyelash in their eye. But they don't know it's an eyelash because no mirrors. I imagine multitudes have gauged out an eyeball or both trying to get one out. I know this is supposed to elicit humorous responses. But it makes me a bit sad when I think of those of our ancestors who were deeply curious about the world around them. But had no way to find answers to their questions. Watching their fellow counterparts begin to develop better societies while you're stuck with your shitty cave and a partner who may not love you, with uncivilized kids that just eats your good, you just work together. That idiot kid among us from the tribe who always talks about how he remembers he was eating berries near a tree last year and this year a berry bush had grown there. Dogs getting into the freshly hunted meat. I mean, we get pissed when they get into the garbage, but back then must have been something else. Stepping on pebbles that their children left on the floor, or when you're trying to go hunting but your dummy thick ass claps keep scaring away the megafauna. The shift from foraging to modern agriculture. Stopping being nomadic. And instead relying on one or two crops. Really f***ed with us when the floods and crop diseases arrived. These weird other humans that are a little taller and a little skinnier that keep encroaching our territory and hunting our animals. Like really? Do you mind? And what is with that sh*t sticking out under your mouth? Some kind of false horn? You look ridiculous. And your brow game is weak. BC Anon. Stories chiseled into clay tablets, known for being full of literal shit. About a cabal of tree-worshipping elite who were snatching up little kids and taking them to a cave to sacrifice them to the great oak. But Donald Trump has been fighting them in a secret war, and any day now the cabal will be defeated and the dust storm will start. Edit. I forgot to add that I am high as tea right now. It made sense when I started typing it. When you spend hours making the perfect spur tip only for it to be set down wrong and the pointed edge breaks. Wasting precious hours and calories that could have gone to something better. I see a lot of mosquitoes. But prehistoric times? Fleas, bedbugs, and multiple types of lice. Mosquitoes would suck, huh? Comma as well. But your entire body would itch. All the time. I can think of a lot of other problems. But they wouldn't be minor for the era. Small things could mean life and death. Wounds. Child mortality. Disease. Flooding. Drought. Hypothermia. Scarcity. Parasites. Hunger. Shelter. Being barefoot. Insects. Predators. Daylight savings. In case this post has gotten anyone curious. The Earth's Children series by Jean M. Aular, a great read. She did a lot of research and consulted with archaeologists and historians. Obviously it is still fiction, but it's very interesting. When you're trying to concentrate on the hunt and that F-King know-it-all won't shut up about how we should try planting grasses in one place instead. There was the one person who made fire. I'm sure they got pretty startled. But I can't imagine how everyone else felt when they couldn't get their pile faux sticks to do the same. Successfully downing a mammoth. But then eating nothing but mammoth for a month. Roast mammoth. Mammoth stew. Curried mammoth. Cold mammoth sandwiches. Had to have been pretty annoying seeing all of these creatures with evolutionary trays built for hunting. When all you had was a shitty little spear. I've thought about this a lot actually. My honest answer would be a runny nose. Can you imagine? No allergy pills. No tissues. Just having constant snot run down your face. And if you're a dude with a beard, especially before having tools to cut it, you'll just have a nasty snotty beard with who knows what else in it. The smell. The feel. All of it. Terrible. I can't even imagine what annoyed prehistoric humans. They probably thought they were very smart and living at the height of luxury after discovering how to bang the right kind of rocks together and make a fire for heat inside of their dirt-floored cave. But I bet it wasn't so great when you were the old crippled person that could no longer hunt or gather or make anything, so you were the one that always got the butthole for dinner when they divvied up the day's kill and handed it all out. Making tools then having them break. Napping is already a pain, but just make a knife of spear to have it break. Almost enough irritation to just go get eaten. This one actually annoyed me. So I guess it may have annoyed my ancestors too. When you spend months planning the murder of the head of your family. Even traded your beautiful SX mule for a sharp stone knife. Sharpening it little by little in the dark of every night, and then on the fateful day you stab Ooga Booga in the back only to realize that the knife broke without even piecing their hide. So now you lay there in the ground. Being beaten to death with a stone after being honor raped by your father. You've lost your family. Your pride. Your stone knife. Your life. But most importantly, you've lost your beautiful SX mule. When idling in a cave cause it's raining and getting a random boner for the wife, and all 4 of your kids are playing with rocks and sticks, and your parents are chewing on the bones of one of your relatives who just died yesterday in background. Summer would have sucked. With no AC. And not many ways to shave the hair growing all over their body. The crotch would have been pretty airy though. Having your aurochs stomach pot split while mid-cooking. Spilling the contents all over the fire. Double annoyance of food that is difficult to recover. And potentially dousing your fire. Plus having to get yourself another cooking vessel. Dying at age 35. People did not drop dead at 30. The average age was around 30. The average is dragged down by high infant mortality. And deaths of women in childbirth. And men in accidents doing stupid things like war and hunting. If you avoided premature fatality and your family had decent food supply, you could live well into old fart territory. Things stuck in their teeth. There was no dental care. Imagine you have some steak or whatever stuck between your teeth but you can't get it out. The inability to articulate thought with words. Prehistoric and pre-language adoption must have been slightly annoying. Finding that one person that had not learned what Tugga Mug Sug meant. So there was a time before trash holes existed, and I think the existence of the trash room would be pretty annoying. Ooga Booga. I wish I had something better to cover myself when I sleep for warmth than this smelly mammoth hide. Also, Unga bunga, I wish I had something better to rest my head on while I'm sleeping than this mammoth's head. I would imagine Stone Age ladies halting the whole tribe because they have to take a pee being a bummer. Like, you just made it through the last saber-toothed tiger fight, are on the run for the next best hole that provides shelter and possibly the opportunity to try the new thing called fire, and then someone screams, "Stop everyone. I gotta pee. Ooh ooh ooh. But not here. And don't look everyone. Let's go back a bit. I think I saw the spot. No. Wasn't here. I dunno. I think I can wait. No offense intended." The fact that your child, or even you, since some human species would reach about 1.35 meters, could be taken by an eagle at any moment, really. I think it would suck when little Grog was f***ing kidnapped by a bird. Letting the fire go all the way out. It's a huge pain in the ass to start a fire from scratch. And it's avoidable if you just keep it going. When you flake out and then realize too late that you let every single ember go cold. That would have to be annoying. Karen. Complaining that the fire didn't last long enough to cook her fish. Even though she arrived late after everyone else is trying to sleep. And no. We can't keep the fire going all night just for you and your trout. Karen. Not being able to reach the sun. Packing up your entire village town and hauling it by man labor to find a habitable area. Experimenting with every single animal to identify which milk tastes best. Walking everywhere